The journey to military service is often one of seeking direction, opportunity, or a sense of purpose. But what happens after that service ends? The journey from the military back to civilian life is a path every veteran must walk. And for many, it's filled with unexpected challenges. How do you find a new mission when the old one is complete? Our guest today has a story of resilience that spans his entire life, from his earliest days to his current mission. His journey began with the kind of adversity many can't imagine. Growing up in poverty on a Native American reservation, facing immense family challenges that shaped his view of the world. For him, the military wasn't just a job, it was a lifeline, a path to a new future. But when his time in uniform was over, he saw a new battlefield. The bureaucratic maze and lack of cohesive support that too many of his fellow veterans were fighting through every single day. He saw that the camaraderie and structure of the military often disappeared right when you needed it most. Instead of just pointing out the problem, he decided to build the solution. Today, we're sitting down with Josh Parrish, a veteran and the founder of the nonprofit organization VetLife. Josh's story is a powerful testament to a turning struggle into a driving force for change. He's here to talk about his incredible path from the reservation to the military and beyond. We'll dive into why he started VetLife, the critical gaps he's working to fill in veteran services, and how he's leveraging technology to do it. He's going to give us an inside look at VetLife's innovative Battle Buddy app, a project designed to cut through the red tape and put benefits and resources directly into the hands of veterans who earn them. This is a conversation about grit, purpose, and the profound impact one person can have when they refuse to let their community be left behind. Josh's journey is a masterclass in building a life of service, both in and out of uniform.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Voice for Valor. I'm your host Mike, and today I've got an incredible conversation to share with you. I recently sat down with Josh Parrish, the founder of VetLife, and his story blew me away. Josh grew up on a Native American reservation, an experience that gave him a totally different perspective on life before he ever put on a uniform. As someone who served myself, I was fascinated hearing how Josh's unique background shaped his military experience and eventually led to creating VetLife after service. When he talked about his struggles transitioning back to civilian life, man, I could relate so much to what he was saying. What really stands out about Josh's approach is how VetLife is working to streamline veteran services. If you've ever dealt with the maze of resources out there, you know exactly how valuable this is. Josh shares some powerful stories about veterans whose lives have been transformed through the work they're doing. Throughout our conversation, Josh opens up about the challenges he's faced, the lessons he's learned, and the vision that keeps driving him forward. His passion for helping fellow veterans is absolutely contagious. Whether you're a veteran looking for better resources, someone who works with the veteran community, or just interested in hearing an inspiring story of service beyond the uniform, I think you'd get a lot out of this conversation. So once again, grab your coffee, settle in, and join me for this eye-opening discussion with a true innovator who's changing how we support our veterans. Let's get into it.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Today we have Josh Parrish, who runs VetLife. And my goodness, as I was reading your bio and we've had a chance to chat in the past, I wanted to start it off by tell us, how the heck did you grow up on an Indian reservation? How did a Native American reservation, how'd that even work?
Yeah, as you can tell by the blue eyes here, crazy story, honestly. So my mom was actually originally from Hazel Park, Michigan, and her father actually just dropped her and her sister off at a friend's house in the UP. He worked for GM. And so her and my Aunt Karen grew up right on Lake Superior. My mom went to a small school called Brimley Area Schools, and met my father. My father was the youngest of 13. 11 that had lived, and he's Native American. My grandfather, who I never met, he was 100%. So I mean, think straight Native American, really dark skin, high cheekbones. But unfortunately, he passed away, and my father, who was 50%, met my mom at school. It was love until it wasn't. And they had 6 wonderful children, me being the oldest of them. I actually grew up, my wife teases me all the time. She's like, come on, you can't have been that poor. And so she rolls her eyes, and I'm sure she's out doing work out in the kitchen, rolling her eyes right now. But I actually grew up. I think there's about a 4 or 5 year age gap between my sister and I. And so we lived with my grandmother, my grandma June, and I actually have a tattoo of her. She loved Lonesome Dove. So we grew up in a little trailer, little 2-bedroom trailer. I used to go out and pump the well water to warm up our water. We didn't have running water till I was like 4 or 5. And honestly, I didn't know any different. I mean, I didn't know I was poor. Every month on the Indian reservation, you just went up to the commodities building and got your food, or else you hunted or fished for any protein, as people would call it these days. But I'm talking rabbit, deer, I mean, you name it. We hunted it, we killed it, squirrels. And so I honestly didn't know. I just thought that was how everybody lived their life. And it was a very big culture shock when I started school and realized that I was a poor Indian trash, as some people would have called me back then. So it was interesting.
Was the school on the reservation, or did you go off the reservation?
I went off reservation for the school. The reservation is called Bay Mills, and the town that adjoined it was called Brimley. And so I went to Brimley area schools, K through 12, graduating class of I think 16 or 18, and there was about 330 kids from K to 12, all under one roof.
So, growing up with 6 kids, and you said there was a relatively large gap. Would you say 4 or 5 years between you and your next sibling?
Yeah. Then it went. Oh, go ahead.
No, just go ahead. How many age groups are we spanning here to get to 6?
So I'm 45. I believe my sister's 41, and then it went almost in quick succession. Mike, Jake, Mandy, then me, and then my parents split up, got back together for a little bit, had my brother Jared, then got divorced again. My mom got remarried and had my stepsister Sarah, who just turned 21. So it was needless to say, so my dad really wasn't in the picture much when I was younger, and so I was the man of the house. And so we joke now because our 9-year-old daughter, she doesn't even want to walk up to the bus stop. And I used to get my brothers and sisters off the bus, cook them dinner. My mom worked at Kmart back in the day to make ends meet. And I mean, I just thought that's what any 11-year-old kid did, or 12-year-old, however old I was. And yeah, like I said, I think it really shaped me into the man who I am today, going through all that adversity. But yeah, I wouldn't have changed a single thing. As rough as my childhood was, I think it really made me into the human being that I am today.
How did you even find out about the military? What led you down that path?
Yeah,
coming from a poor background, were there recruiters that came into the school, or how did you even find out about it?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, so recruiters were always at our school. I mean, relatively, poor population where I lived. You either worked at the prison or you worked at the casino. Yeah, so those were the 2 main sources of income, or commercial fishing if you were Native American. But I remember an Army recruiter coming in, and I mean, you're in the military. You know how Army recruiter, or just any recruiters in general, are. They make it sound like it's the best thing ever, and
especially Army recruiters.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you get this, a $10,000 bonus. What they don't tell you is they split it up into 2 segments, and they tax you at 25%, so that 10,000 turns into about 3,000 pretty quick. So, and then you probably tax on that as well. So, but no. Long story short, Army recruiter came in. And mentioned that I was MP in Alaska, and I always wanted to be a police officer. I always looked up to law enforcement when I was younger, and I went and I took my ASVAB. If I remember, I've been out since 2008, but took my ASVAB and scored pretty high. Said I could pick what job I wanted to do, and then right as I was getting ready to go to basic, I think I met a girl or whatever it was, and I just kind of backed out for a little bit. And then about a year later, I had started college, and I was terrible at school back then. Failed out of college, and military was an option. Recruiter came by and said, "Listen, do you know what a combat engineer is?" And I said, "No, but it sounds pretty cool. What do I do?" And I said, "Well, you're going to build bridges and drive boats and all this stuff." I mean, hey, I lived on Lake Superior, so why not? So I think I was 20. I was 19 or 20 when I joined the military. Went to basic training, Fort Leonard, Missouri, and got home. And about a year later, they said, "Hey, you're going to Iraq." Or actually, it was you are going to fly and go into the southern part of Turkey, into the northern part of Iraq as part of the spearhead. And they gave us, our ops and briefed us, and we were going to, be attacked daily. And then I don't know if you remember back in 2003, but Turkey would only let us use their airspace. And so we had to reroute to Kuwait. And so I was attached to, I think it was originally the 4th ID, but then we got reattached to the 7th Marine Expeditionary Force. Whoever listened, don't quote me. It's been so long, I can't really remember, what expeditionary force it was, but I know we were attached to the Marines for a better part of my time in Iraq. Built some bridges and over the Tigris, I believe. Did some missions over there. It was a pretty cool experience. But I'll tell you, when you get home, I don't know how it was for you, but it really sucked for me. I like the structure of the military. I like the camaraderie. And when I left the military, I felt like I lost a sense of purpose, lost a sense of identity, and all those weird jokes you tell in the military. Civilian people don't really enjoy those weird, crude jokes as much as other veterans do. So it was an eye-opening experience.
Well, both of us, you and I both, I mean, we have that same passion for the structure and the purpose-driven life. And you have met so many veterans. I'm sure this is a common story. Please share what you're doing with VetLife and some of these purpose-driven initiatives.
And I won't focus on the negative aspects too much, but I do believe that it's important to say that when I went through the TAPS program out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky, the way they explained it to me is kind of like the way the Army recruiter explained it to me about how great the military was going to be, and you were going to eat steak and shrimp and lobster. TAPS, I didn't get anything out of it. I mean, they gave me a bunch of papers and said, put your discharge papers on file at the county you're going to move to, and thank you for your service. And so when I went out looking for those benefits, and honestly looking for some mental health help, I didn't get it. And really, I felt like I was shunned in a sense. Like, you're supposed to be this strong war fighter where you're not supposed to ask for help. And then you ask for help and they're like, but no, you're not supposed to be asking for help. And so, yeah, I went through some pretty dark times for a little while. As you know, so I'm smiling now. So I believe I'm over those darker times. But I got to a really dark point in my life where I just didn't want to be here anymore. And met my wife. We have 4 beautiful children together. And I wanted to take all of the struggles that I went through when I left the military, everything that I've had jumbled inside my brain for years, and really just create programs to help make the process more efficient so less veterans fall through the cracks than originally would have fallen through the cracks if I wasn't here to help, or we weren't here to help.
How many years did you serve before you actually went through the transition assistance program, the TAP program?
I served, 6 and then 2 in IRR. And so, I mean, I went through TAPS in 2008, I think.
Okay. So you served You served 6 years and then you came right back to Michigan?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the transition assistance program right now, I just recently went through it as I was preparing for retirement. It's definitely built for that first term airman, soldier, sailor. It's not really built for somebody like myself who's a senior military officer, where I've had a chance to really research all these things and plan my exit strategy. It's designed more for that person that is that first term. Hopefully it's gotten better since you retired in 2008. What have you been hearing from veterans that are recently retiring? Are they saying it's the same? Are they saying it's improved? Has your voice improved any? Is the VA are you getting the attention of the VA or anybody to try and help this program?
Just to give you an idea, I mean, I'm not helping 1 or 2 veterans a month here. I mean, we have a pretty robust structure of, we call them forward-facing events. Give you an idea, one of our events, and I guess I should have mentioned this prior. So my wife and I created VetLife, this nonprofit, in 2018. I had worked for a county Department of Veterans Affairs office and then for the state of Michigan. So I was able to really peel back the layers of the onion about what was working and what wasn't working. And I'm fortunate. I've worked with both the state and the federal government. State level, I helped create something called the County Veteran Service Fund, which is an annual appropriation of about $4.5 million. I spearheaded an effort to digitize military records here in Michigan. I worked on the federal level with Congresswoman, who's now Senator Slotkin, to codify this program called Solid Start. So Solid Start, if you're not familiar with it, calls newly transitioning veterans 3 times in 1 calendar year. So the reason why I'm mentioning all of this is to let you know that I deal with over 10,000 veterans a year, and work with through our Vet Fest events, through our app, through our radio shows. And so the common theme is the TAP system is broken. And of course, you're always going to get some people that had a good experience, but I honestly believe the reason the TAPS program is broken is because veterans need time to decompress after they leave the military. And they're not going to carry around a PowerPoint. They're not going to carry around a briefcase full of documents that TAPS gives you. They're not going to ingest what you're telling them. So that's why we created that app, Battle Buddy, where you can access everything you want on your own time. So if any of the listeners here today want a theme and a theory of what VetLife does, is we empower veterans to be their own best advocates, and we give them the vetted resource tools to be the best version of themselves that they can. My goal is to get the Battle Buddy app that you can find on, your Android phone or your Apple phone. I want that to be a part of the TAPS transition process, where, let's say, Michael, you get out of the military and 6 months down the road, you say, man, I really wish I would have listened in TAPS and they told me something about a VA home loan or a certificate of eligibility. You go on the app, it connects you right to a resource provider. You want to file for disability compensation. We're leveraging AI to really machine learn. So this app, this Battle Buddy, knows who you are. Let's say that you're having a bad day. You go on the app, it knows, hey, Mike, I hear you're having a bad day. How can I help you? Because here's the main issue. The underlying issue is, and maybe you've encountered it. I know we've spoke about it. You have a very robust network in the Washington, D.C. area, but 36% of veterans in this country are considered to be living in rural areas. So normally the way to gain access to your benefits, we call it the preferred method, is through a veteran service officer. And we talked about that as well. But right now in this country, for every 7,000 veterans, there's only one accredited VSO. So that means that these veterans on average are asking for help on average 3 times. And that's according to, VA reports, Auditor General reports. And if the veterans aren't getting the help after the third time, essentially they just blend back into society and never utilize those benefits. We are giving you, VetLife is giving you 24/7, 365 access to these benefits and resources. And the best part about it, they're vetted. We know that these people are going to pick up the phone, answer an email, because if they don't, they're going to be held accountable for not helping the people that they say they're going to help. So yeah, I've never disparaged anybody, but I do believe that the TAPS program does need to be completely overhauled.
Since our conversation before, I've downloaded your app. Super clean, professional, easy to use. Do you have a team that people can submit inputs? So for instance, since I just recently retired, one thing is when you lose that CAC card access, you have to have all these usernames and passwords.
Yep.
And there's certain logins and requirements. Having something like that on your app saying, hey, non-CAC card access, this is how you navigate this space or that space. Because here I am, I'm a 24-year veteran, and it was difficult. It was difficult for me. I'm on helplines. I'm on chat. I'm like, hey, I'm trying to log into this website because this is the only place I can download my DD-214.
Yep.
And I can't access it. So here I am, a senior level professional who couldn't do it. I'm like, hey man, Josh's app, if it had a to-do list, I'm just wondering if you guys have anything like that where people can provide updates and feedback to truly get your product to the top of the veteran list on the App Store.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah, and that's being added as we speak. So as we build out the app, so think of this as the field testing portion of it. 6 months down the road, we'll be able to go back and pivot, kind of like the military. You want to see what's working, what's not working. And yeah, to answer your question, there will be a feedback. We're also building in, and this is more on the disability compensation side, we're building in like a built-in accountability mechanism where you can rate your experience with your veteran service officer, because unfortunately, not every veteran service officer is following through. And we want to ensure that these veterans that are utilizing our free services, mind you, everything is free to the veteran. I would never charge a veteran a single dime for anything. I just want this to make them be a better person. And so, yeah, we're constantly improving. I think right now, the app in and of itself is designed to just give you the resources that you need, and then we'll build in more of the user experience on the back end, probably in the next 12 months.
How long did it take you to engineer and pay for this?
Yeah.
Pay for this app. I have no idea how apps are made, so that probably seems like a silly question, but I'm just curious how long it took.
It is not a silly question. And I was actually on a phone call. So Joe Bass, phenomenal human being. Joe, if you're listening to this, you have a place in my heart. You're a pretty awesome woman.
She'll listen to this. She's a good friend.
Yes.
She keeps track of my stuff. She tries to support me.
Well, so she introduced me to a woman who runs a company called WellList. And so the reason I'm bringing this up is we're on this Zoom call, and this WellList person, she mentioned, she's like, if you need anything, you let me know, because I've made every mistake in the book of, trying to get this final product out there. And I had to chuckle because originally we started this app as a text chat bot. Then we field tested it, and we realized that, you got GWAT veterans, you got Vietnam veterans, you got Air Force, Army, Navy, you name it. And they're all different genres of people, male, female, black, white, you name it. And they all wanted something different. But what they all agreed on is they did not want a text-based chat bot because they felt that they couldn't see it. And for whatever reason, that was just the feedback we got. So then we started building out, and by we, I meant my wife. My wife physically built this app herself. And I went through about a 3-week crash course on what AI and machine learning and large language models and everything was, because we wanted this to be the most user-friendly app that we could put out there. So to to really answer your question, the sweat equity that my wife put into this was probably worth about $50,000 to $75,000. And then what we utilize for, because you have front end and back end technology on these apps. The front end is your user experience, the graphics, the pictures. The back end is everything. Think of like making a pizza. The back end are the ingredients that you need. You need cloud space. You need, do you want to upload documents? And that's one thing I didn't mention either. So honestly, to answer your question, I think we'll probably easily have $100,000 in-kind contribution, sweat equity, and what we physically put on the table to build this out. And so it's taken her about 6 to 8 months to physically build it out, but that is a very good product. And we've actually had app developers come to us and say, who built this out for you? And I say, my wife did. And their jaw drops to the floor because these people have been trained for years on how to build this out. And my wife is an absolute rock star and just said, I can do it, or watch me do it. And she just sat at the table and kicked it out. And she's out there right now doing the press release for the full release tomorrow.
I told you the app, it's fast, it's clean. I hit a button, it goes straight to it. I can't tell you how many other things out there have a delay. It's going to send you to an out-facing website, and it takes a few potatoes for it to show up. No, it's going right to the website. So
Yeah.
I was impressed how quick it was. So you guys started this, you said, in 2018, and it sounds very grassroots. You mentioned like going to local businesses. Did you start going to local businesses before you became a nonprofit or after? How was that life cycle of fundraising and getting this whole thing started?
So, full disclosure, I'm an attorney by trade. My wife is, she has her master's degree in business, marketing, organizational leadership. We were happy with what we were doing in a sense, but there was always that unfulfilled back end portion of it. And I think everybody wants to have a life worth living, if that makes sense. And I just got to the point where I was doing the same things day in, day out. I didn't feel like I was making a difference. And so we were sitting at our kitchen table in 2017. And my wife asked me, she said, "Are you happy?" And I'm like, you're married. I mean, to me, that's kind of a loaded question. I'm like, happy with you?
What did I do wrong?
Yeah, what did I do wrong here? And she goes, "No, are you happy in life?" And I said, "Man, no, I'm not." I said, I felt like I lost that spark when I stopped working for the state of Michigan, because I felt like I was accomplishing some great things. And I said, you know what I really want to do? And I've never done it. And we're not, nonprofit people, but I said, I want to start a nonprofit. I feel like we could do some good in this world. We filed the documents, got our 501c3 designation, I think in like August of 18, and started putting a board of directors together. Of course, you put your friends on the board of directors and that never works out. That's like loaning money to your family members thinking you'll ever get it back. But now, we have a highly effective team. A very highly effective team of subject matter experts. I've been fortunate along the way to have some pretty good guides of larger foundations and nonprofits that I think when they see that you're doing it for the right reasons and you're not just out trying to make a bunch of money and elevate yourself to be, some elected official someday, I think people really gravitate towards that. And it really took about 2 years where we were having to, bust down doors to get a $500,000, $2,000 donation to now where people are coming to us. Hey, here's 10, 20, 30, 50, $100,000. And it's like, when you sit back and look at it and you realize this is what you built from the ground up with no expertise. I didn't go to business school, and I credit my growing up, where I grew up and the life I lived as a young kid to that, because everybody always told me that I would make nothing of myself. And I'd be another drunk Indian like my dad, and I'd never leave the res. And it was kind of like the FU to their face And I'm proud to admit this. I did. I had a chip on my shoulder, and I'm proud to prove people wrong. But I'm more proud to be a good husband and a good father to my kids, somebody that can look up to me and know that their mom and dad are doing good things for people. And so I think when you do good things happen to you. So
How did a poor kid from a Native American reservation go to law school? I mean, where did that idea or dream even come from? Because like you said, if you got all these people in your hometown telling you're going to be nothing, where did you get the aspirations to go to law school?
So my wife will tell you, I've always been very good at arguing, and I have not always been the best at asking for help, which I think in the veteran community is kind of a double-edged sword, because when you get out of the military, they want you to ask to get access to those benefits, but in the military, they're like, don't ask for help. And so I just kind of took that mantra when I left. And my wife, I had been going to my undergrad, and I started, have you ever heard of Student Veterans of America?
I've not.
Okay. So SVA back then in like 2012 or 2013 was just a grassroots effort. Now it's a national organization. But what really helped me was the SVA was what I needed. SVA is veterans that go back to school, and it's kind of like you're back in the military. It's like it's not like not a sorority, but what's the other one? Fraternity, yes. It's kind of like a fraternity, but without like the actual, like you don't live in a house together. So when I was going for my undergrad, I found a bunch of like-minded veteran students like me. Oh my gosh, for the first time in a long time, I have a sense of purpose. I have a sense of identity again. So, I mean, I rocked out my undergrad. I told you I failed my first time at school at Lake Superior State University up in the UP. And then I come back and I make, magna cum laude in my undergrad. And then I start working for the government, and I was just unfulfilled. And my wife was like, have you ever used your education benefit? And I said, well, what are those? And she goes, well, there's this something called like the GI Bill or chapter Voc Rehab or something. She's like, I'm going to look into it. So she started looking into it, and she found that the military would pay for my law school, give me a stipend, pay for my books, give me a laptop. And I never would have known about that if it weren't for my wife. I honestly wouldn't have went to law school if it weren't for her. And so that's why it's always so important in the events that we push out or on this app. It's not just about the veteran, it's about their family as well. So I have to give all the credit to my wife for going to law school. I found that once I got into law school, I was working during the day full time, but then I was doing night. So I'd get off at 5 and then have class from 6 to 10 or 6 to 11. So, I didn't get to see my wife for about 3 years. She'll probably say that was a good thing, but I didn't like it that much. So, but yeah, no, credit my wife. That and that chip on my shoulder, I think, is really the reason why I've excelled so much where we're at today.
As you're telling your story, I'm literally counting on my fingers how many great things came from your military service.
Yes.
You failed out of school. Would you have been a successful student if you hadn't gone to the military? Probably not, right?
No.
And then, I mean, the benefits that allowed you this opportunity to continue your education, all these things that you're describing are, once again, reasons why the military is such an amazing opportunity that I continue to tell youth today. I said, look, if you're in that, those late teens, early 20s, and you're just kind of having questions about where your path is going, my goodness, the military is such an amazing opportunity to learn these different things that social media and TikTok and all this stuff isn't telling you. They're just showing you the fancy cars and houses and going to all these parties, but they're not showing you the actual dedication it takes to have the money to pay for these houses and parties and fancy cars.
Yeah. No, like I said, I've I enjoyed my military experience. The transition process was difficult for me and for a lot of other veterans from what I'm hearing. So yeah, I think you're spot on. The military was really good to me. Um, and now I think my way of giving back is to try to help make the process a little better for my generation or just generations to come.
You mentioned your radio show earlier, show slash podcast. The first time I listened to it, it does sound like a radio show. I mean, the host you work with, he's got the perfect radio voice. You guys sound so professional. Please talk about it. Talk about your show.
Yeah. So Kurt David, and I know you're going to listen to this. Kurt David is the co-creator of From Glory Days Veterans Edition. And I came to him with the idea because he won an Emmy Award for a TV show called From Glory Days. So Kurt's a retired professional athlete. And what he did with his TV show is he brought on retired athletes that left the game and left the glory and struggle. Because the divorce rate when professional athletes retire, the divorce rate is like 85%. And so what we've seen is a lot of similarities between when professional athletes leave the sport and when veterans leave the military and go back to the civilian life. And so I had this idea, and my wife actually came up with the name From Glory Days Veterans Edition. And I went to Kurt and I said, I don't know how to do a radio show, just like I didn't know how to do a nonprofit, but I really want to do a radio show. And I was fortunate enough to meet a person named Jeff Marcero, who runs Cumulus Media in Detroit. Pitched the idea to him. He goes, "Man, this is a great idea." He goes, "Let me sign you up for a 40 episode contract." And really, the best part about the radio show, podcast, whatever you want to call it, is a lot of these veterans lose their voice or aren't able to tell their story when they leave the military. So all we want to do with this radio show is give veterans an opportunity, a platform to be able to tell their own story through their own lens. And it's almost cathartic in a sense, because a lot of these veterans, you can tell, it's like when a weight's lifted off your shoulder, when they're talking about their experience, they're unpacking things as they're telling their story. And I can't tell you how many veterans afterwards, after the camera or after, the show ends, they just cry. I mean, it is amazing to see how powerful this platform has become. And we just renewed for season 2. And I mean, I couldn't be more excited to drop more episodes of that and watch it grow. And I'm really excited to see where it goes. I mean, it's on all major streaming platforms. It's on our website. It's on YouTube. It's everywhere. I listen to it on Spotify because that's what I listen to. But yeah, 30 to 40 minute episodes. And I think they're the greatest thing ever.
You mentioned veterans tearing up after telling you their stories. Last week, 2 weeks ago, the 80th anniversary of Iwo Jima was here in Washington, D.C. So they brought back as many survivors from Iwo Jima as they could. And I had the pleasure of photographing these guys and listening to them tell their stories for the American Veterans Center. It's a large nonprofit here in D.C. that has just an unbelievable catalog, a library, if you will, of interviews from all these vets. This elderly man shared his story, and he, like you said, he was just absolutely in tears by the end of the story. And we're talking about something that happened 80 years ago. So what you're doing is got to be providing some mental health and resilience to these folks that are coming on your show.
Yeah.
Can you share one of the stories that particularly hit home with you?
Yeah. Retired major, chaplain, won't mention his name, but I mean, you could probably look up the episode. He was a casualty assistance officer for the military, and I'm going to butcher it, but I mean, he went on over 60 calls And what a casualty assistance officer does is they go and inform the family that when that person passes away. And unfortunately, a good majority of them are from suicides. And he got to a point where he had a mental breakdown and he checked himself into a mental health facility. And it watching him retell that story, you could see the pain in his eyes, but you could also see him working through it mentally to get to a point where he was starting to be okay again. Because I mean, talk therapy is a big thing for people, and we do it in a very non-adversarial way. That's what I want to mention. That the key to doing it is non-adversarial, because you get these big burly men, these people that don't want to talk about their feelings, but you put them in a comfortable setting and just do a storytelling, and it's just naturally healing.
That's what I love about this podcast is it's non-adversarial. I don't want anything from you. I just love hearing your story and figuring out ways that I can help VetLife and other veterans out there that are trying to make a difference. My life coach said it best. He's a retired veteran, Army veteran himself. And he said, Mike, everybody just wants to be heard and understood. And a lot of these veterans don't get that. They don't get that opportunity. So I feel like when I look through your website and I look through your app, you guys are trying to provide that voice for them.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, and that's what we've been doing too. And that's the crazy thing is I always tell people everything we do is not just for the veteran, but for their family as well. So we had started a veterans treatment court here in the county that I live in, and I was tasked with identifying mentors for the court. And so we would pair the mentor up with the veteran would get in trouble with the law, and in lieu of jail would be able to go through a 12 to 18 month intensive treatment court process. And what I found was when the family was involved in the process, the recidivism rate dropped to almost 0%. So that led me to believe, hey, if we're going to offer these services to veterans, we have to involve the family in the process, because the veteran isn't necessarily open to getting the help that they may need. But when you start involving the family, it's the integral familial unit involved. And I mean, it works. And there's no rhyme or reason. It just works. So.
Well, as you continue to progress with this program, with your nonprofit, what are you envisioning for the next 5 years?
Yeah,
what's your goal?
Great question. So we love our in-person events. So we address food insecurity, veteran homelessness. Like I said, I grew up pretty poor, so didn't get too many Christmas presents. So knew what it was like to wake up in the morning and have maybe one present under the tree. So we have holiday programs. I love our in-person events, but my primary goal, and my wife says it's pretty lofty, but I would like to be able to start helping the 200,000 men and women that leave the military every year, get them connected to their benefits, get them connected to their resources so they don't fall through the cracks. And I think with this Battle Buddy app, we can do that. And then moving forward, I'd like to go to the 19 plus million veterans that are currently in this country, enroll them in Battle Buddy, and let's start seeing how we can improve the process overall and just make it more efficient.
So you mentioned your time in Michigan, that you were working for the state, and you mentioned Elizabeth Slotkin. Here on Capitol Hill, I've worked with her as well, and I can definitely tell that she is passionate about veterans, and her being a former CIA agent and working in the building. What can we here in DC do to help you guys out?
Oh God, I mean, you want the real answer, or do you want some politically?
I want the real answer, because so far I have been impressed with her advocacy. But I want the real answer.
Yeah, if you want the real answer, I think what you have to do is I think you have to take a long look at the current structure in Washington, the National Veteran Service Organizations, and you have to see if they are providing the impact that they say they're providing, because we don't live in the Korea, Vietnam era anymore. these veterans aren't going down to their local posts and having a beer, and that's just not the way it goes anymore. And so I would say that I think legislatures and lawmakers have to take a long, hard look at the current process that's in place and see if it's effective. Because quite honestly, I don't think it is. I don't think that the younger voices are represented. And I've told Alyssa this many times, and I know that she listens. I actually have a really good friend up there as well. He just got elected. His name's Tom Barrett. You should look him up. Congressman Tom Barrett. He's an Apache pilot. He heads the Military Veterans Affairs Technological Advancement Subcommittee. And I truly believe it's the younger voices that we have to start embracing and really look and see if the current process in place is efficient. And I don't really think it is.
Well, I would love a warm introduction to him. I'm also getting ready to interview Zach Nunn. He's a congressman from Iowa, and he is a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force. Might have just been promoted to colonel. But yeah, I'm trying to reach out to some of these veterans that serve in the House Armed Services Committee, in the VA subcommittee, to see what we can do. So by all means, please provide an introduction. I'll happily go over and chat with him.
I will. Yeah, I'll make an email introduction to Tom. Tom Barrett's been on our radio show. Highly encourage you to listen to his story, because he is about a down-to-earth person as you're going to get. So,
well, when we're finished, if you send me some links to some of these particular episodes, and even your logo, we can gladly add a hyperlink and talk about you guys on our website to help continue to get your visibility out there.
Yeah, consider it done. Yeah.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So Josh, what am I missing? What have I not asked that you would like to share with our community?
Honestly, I would say I think you hit every talking point that I wanted to talk about. And really, at the end of the day, I think the only thing that's missing from this conversation is for you and I to meet in person and, just sit down and shoot the shit for a little bit and see how we can make the world a better place.
Yeah, as your nonprofit gets larger and larger, my goodness, how often do you get the chance to come out here to DC?
I was out in DC for the Army-Navy game. And then one of our developers...
That's where you met Joe Bass, right? Is that where you met?
Yeah, that's where I met
Chief
Joe.
Bass was the Army-Navy. Okay.
Yeah. I actually met a pretty bunch of cool people there. But I've actually started getting more involved in the Native American veteran community. So I know Native Americans have a strong presence within Washington. So I've been invited out. I should be going back out there in April, but actually cross your fingers. So one thing I didn't mention is VetLife made the top 20 finalists for the Congressional Medal of Honor Society Citizens Award for the work we do in the nonprofit space. Out of, I think, 400 nonprofits, we made the top 20. We'll know next week if we won, and they're going to fly us out to Roanoke, Virginia, March 15th to National Medal of Honor Society Day.
Oh, wow. That is phenomenal. That shows right there what you're doing is making a difference. For you to get ranked in that class of nonprofits is amazing and impressive.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. But I'll tell you, the first time I get out there, I'll look you up and we'll go grab some dinner or something.
Let's do it. Well, Josh, thank you so much for being on the show today. And every little bit we can do to help is, I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's an honor. I love doing these things, and I love being able to be on these type of platforms where you can tell the person sitting across from you actually cares. So
yeah. I mean, both times we've had a chance to talk, I can see your passion, and hopefully you can see mine as well.
Again. Yeah. All right. Well, here's what we're gonna do.